In the headlines for tonight, Ethiopia and Turkey commit to boost partnership to new heights. And historic Ethiopia-Turkey alliance goes strategic. Hello and a very warm welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, coming to you live from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. It's now 9 p.m. here. I'm your host, Binyam Alamayo, bringing you the latest. I'm joined here in the studio by members of the technical crew and my editor-in-chief, Chagawe Matau. Please do stay with us. I'll see you on the flip side. And now moving on to the full story, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan arrived in Addis Ababa for an official working visit where he was welcomed with full state honors by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed upon his arrival at the Addis Ababa Bole International Airport. Upon landing, President Erdogan was received at the foot of the aircraft by Prime Minister Abiy in a gesture underscoring the growing diplomatic, economic and strategic ties between Ethiopia and Turkey. Senior Ethiopian government officials were present at the airport ceremony. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral ties following high-level talks here in Addis Ababa. Speaking at a joint press briefing, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said President Erdogan's official visit followed an invitation extended during the G20 summit held in South Africa. He thanked the Turkish leader for visiting what he described as the land of origins and the birthplace of Arabica coffee. The premier noted that discussions focused on expanding cooperation across key sectors. Take a listen to what he says.
ዛሬ በነበረን የሁለትዮሽ ግንኙነትና ንግግር በአንዳንድ ወሳኝ ጉዳዮች ላይ ከፕሬዝዳንት ጋር ተግባብተናል።
We agreed to work towards increasing annual trade volume to exceed $1 billion and to further encourage Turkish investment in Ethiopia. Due to Ethiopia's rapid economic growth and expanding population, Turkey expressed full support for Ethiopia's efforts to secure sea access through peaceful means. We also discussed climate cooperation with Turkey as head host COP later this year. We agreed to strengthen collaboration through experience and expertise sharing in climate action and sustainable development. As Ethiopia-Turkey partnership is rooted in mutual respect and shared interests, both bilateral and multilateral engagements will benefit not only the two nations but also the broader African continent.
ስፖርት ማድረግ እንዲችሉ በትብብር እንድንሰራ ተጨማሪ ኢንቨስተሮች እንድናመጣ ተነጋግረናል።
For his part, President Erdogan commended Ethiopia's ongoing economic and political reforms and pledged Turkey's continued support. He also reaffirmed Turkey's commitment to promoting peace and preventing conflict in the Horn of Africa. Let's take a listen to what he says.
Değerli basın mensupları, Başbakan Sayın Abi'nin
I congratulate Prime Minister Abiy on the political, social, and economic transformation of Ethiopia since he took office. With the eyes of the whole world turned to the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia's long-established state structure and exemplary governance are becoming more and more important. I would like to particularly underline our position of attaching importance to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states in the region in which Ethiopia is also located. Turkey would never want to see new conflicts and new pain added to those already suffered in this region. We believe that this region's problems should be solved by the countries of the region itself, and that the Horn of Africa should not be turned into a battleground for foreign powers.
Now, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed held substantive discussions with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of the Republic of Turkey, underlining that the leader's official visit to Ethiopia marks an important step. According to the Premier, the talks reaffirmed enduring friendship and robust cooperation that underpin Ethiopia-Turkey ties. The two leaders exchanged views on strategic areas of collaboration and reaffirmed their mutual commitment to advancing partnerships that serve the interests of both nations. Prime Minister Abiy expressed confidence that the continued engagement between Ethiopia and Turkey will further strengthen ties that unite the two nations. Turkish President Recep Erdogan laid wreath at the Adwa Victory Memorial here in Addis Ababa, paying tribute to the heroes who sacrificed their lives for Ethiopia's freedom. The wreath-laying ceremony was attended by Addis Ababa City Mayor Adaneç Abebe, who highlighted the significance of the moment and extended her greetings to the Turkish president. In a message shared on her social media page, she expressed her wish for a fruitful visit, referring to Ethiopia as the land of origins and honoring the legacy of the heroes commemorated at the memorial. Meanwhile, centuries-old ties between Ethiopia and Turkey are entering a new strategic era, transforming a historic relationship into a partnership of rising geopolitical weight. Turkey has emerged as one of Ethiopia's leading foreign investors, with Turkish companies active in manufacturing, textiles, construction, and services. The following reportage by our staff reporter, Jerusalem Bazaha, sheds more light on the story. Take a look.
Merhaba jandarma. Nasılsınız? Sizler de sağ olun.
Formal diplomatic engagement began in 1896 when delegations were exchanged between Ottoman Sultan Abdul Hamid II and Emperor Menelik II, a landmark moment that institutionalized relations between Addis Ababa and Istanbul at a time of profound global change. The relationship deepened in 1912 with the opening of the Ottoman consulate in Harar, underscoring Ethiopia's strategic importance in the region. A new chapter followed in the Republican era. In 1926, the Republic of Turkey established its first embassy in sub-Saharan Africa in Addis Ababa, a powerful diplomatic signal of long-term engagement. Ethiopia reciprocated in 1933 by opening its embassy in Ankara, laying the foundations for a partnership that would endure shifting global orders and political transitions. Today, those historic ties are evolving into a multidimensional strategic partnership. Ethiopia, one of Africa's largest and fastest-growing economies, is undergoing sweeping infrastructure expansion, industrialization, and urban transformation. Its reform-driven growth trajectory is enhancing its regional influence and long-term economic outlook.
Since the reform process began in Ethiopia, April 2018, our two governments have been working together to expand and strengthen the bilateral relations. Ethiopia is determined to strengthen the existing trade and investment relations between our two countries. And we will continue to avail conducive investment conditions for Turkish investors.
Turkey has emerged as one of Ethiopia's leading foreign investors, with Turkish companies active in manufacturing, textiles, construction, and service. Their presence has generated tens of thousands of jobs, strengthened industrial capacity, and deepened technology and skills transfer. Aviation is another pillar of cooperation, with Addis Ababa and Istanbul serving as a major intercontinental hubs. Growing connectivity between the two cities is reinforcing trade, logistics, tourism, and people-to-people ties, further integrating Africa and Eurasia.
Our people-to-people ties are also strengthening from time to time. Daily direct flight between Addis Ababa and Istanbul by our respective national carriers have augmented this.
Ethiopia's diplomatic stature also amplifies the partnership. As host of the African Union and political capital of Africa, Addis Ababa provides Turkey with strategic access to continental institutions and markets, expanding Ankara's engagement footprint across Africa. From ancient sea routes to high-level strategic dialogue, Ethiopia and Turkey are redefining a centuries-old relationship, one that bridges Africa and Eurasia, strengthens economic corridors, and reflects a shared vision for deeper regional cooperation in the 21st century.
Still on the Ethio-Turkey story, ladies and gentlemen, that relationship is still blossoming. It is being a relic and a leverage. Under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, this partnership has matured into something deliberate. Sovereignty meeting sovereignty. Investment, security, cooperation, and Red Sea mediation. Our staff reporter Sintayo Tamrat brings us up to speed in the following reportage. Take a look.
History is not a dusty archive of fading manuscripts. It is a living arsenal, and in the Horn of Africa's fast-evolving geopolitical arena, it's a primary instrument of power. From the imperial grandeur of the Ottoman Empire to today's modern Republic of Turkey, from ancient storied Ethiopia to its present standing as a symbol of African resilience and growth, Ethio-Turkey relations stretch back more than 5 centuries. What began as encounters between Habesha and Ottoman powers in the 16th century now re-emerges in the 21st century as something far more strategic. As Ethiopia raises its rightful questions over maritime access and as the Horn recalibrates its balance of power, the deeper question becomes clear. What strategic tools does this long history now offer? That's the conversation before us. Today, Ethio-Turkey cooperation is not merely a matter of shared memory. Under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, bilateral ties have risen to the level of strategic partnership grounded in mutual sovereignty. The foundations of this relationship are not accidental. When the Ottomans referred to Ethiopia respectfully as Habeshistan, it reflected recognition, not subjugation. From the spiritual legacy of Bilal al-Habashi to the era of Emperor Menelik II and Sultan Abdul Hamid II, one principle remained constant: sovereignty. During the height of European colonial expansion, Ethiopia stood virtually alone in preserving its independence. Historical records show Ottoman goodwill and diplomatic alignment at critical junctures. That early recognition matured into modern diplomacy when Turkey opened its first embassy in sub-Saharan Africa in Addis Ababa, a powerful signal that Ankara understood Ethiopia's continental weight long before many others did. Today, that historical bond has evolved into a contemporary diplomatic bridge. President Erdogan's defining doctrine, strategic autonomy, has transformed Turkey into a state that cooperates with NATO, engages Russia militarily when necessary, negotiates with China economically, and remains beholden to none. It is a foreign policy rooted in balance rather than alignment. For Ethiopia, navigating a Horn of Africa shaped by Red Sea rivalries, Gulf competition, and global power projection, this model carries profound relevance. When President Erdogan declares the world is bigger than 5, challenging the structure of the UN Security Council, he echoes a sentiment long held in Addis Ababa, that global governance must reflect multipolar realities. Ethiopia's Pan-African posture and defense of sovereign equality align naturally with that philosophy. But this relationship is not rhetorical. It is tangible. Turkish investment in Ethiopia exceeds $2.5 billion. More than 200 companies operate across manufacturing, textile, construction, and agro-processing, generating employment for over 20,000 Ethiopians. Unlike many Western investment frameworks, this cooperation has largely unfolded without overt political conditionalities, built instead on mutual economic interest. Security cooperation is equally consequential. Technology transfer and defense collaboration have strengthened Ethiopia's capacity to safeguard itself without falling under the direct influence of external powers. In a region where foreign military bases dot coastlines and proxy rivalries intensify, self-reliance is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Nowhere is this more visible than in the evolving Red Sea dynamic. As Ethiopia advances its maritime access agenda, framed in Addis Ababa as an economic imperative rather than expansionism, tensions have surfaced, particularly with Somalia. Turkey's mediation efforts through the Ankara process have aimed at de-escalation and dialogue, positioning Ankara as a balancing actor rather than a partisan one. At a time when the Red Sea corridor has become a chessboard for global and regional powers alike, Turkey's expanding influence offers Ethiopia a strategic counterweight, helping Addis Ababa pursue its national interest without being forced into binary alliances. In the broader Horn of Africa equation, military and diplomatic coordination with Turkey strengthens Ethiopia's posture as a central, non-marginalized power, a state that cannot be sidelined in regional calculations. Ethiopia and Turkey today are historically intertwined, economically interlinked, and strategically aligned in vision. The message of this partnership is unmistakable. Ethiopia is not a follower. It is a negotiating power, no longer tethered to a single axis. Addis Ababa is demonstrating that it can engage multiple global actors while bargaining from a position of sovereignty. If Turkey's lesson is strategic autonomy, Ethiopia's application of it is unfolding in real time in the Red Sea discourse, in continental diplomacy, and in the recalibration of power across the Horn of Africa. History then is not behind us. It is the architecture of what comes next.
And now UK Ambassador to Ethiopia, Darren Welch, has said for its sustained efforts and sacrifices in promoting peace and stability across the Horn of Africa. Darren Welch also affirmed UK's understanding of Ethiopia's interest in securing maritime access, encouraging peaceful and diplomatic approach to that end. Kasaun Chane brings us up to speed.
The United Kingdom's ambassador to Ethiopia, Darren Welch, has praised Ethiopia for ill-sustained efforts and sacrifices in promoting peace and stability across the Horn of Africa. Speaking on a growing partnership between our two countries, the ambassador highlighted that bilateral relations between Ethiopia and the United Kingdom have been strengthening steadily across political, economic and strategic fronts.
And I was really pleased that Yvette Cooper decided to make her first visit to the African continent here to Addis Ababa, and she was graciously received by His Excellency the Prime Minister and a range of other ministers as well. While she was here, the Foreign Secretary signed and witnessed a number of really important agreements. The government, as I say, has embarked upon a very impressive set of macroeconomic reforms which have put the economy on a much more solid footing and provided a stronger investment climate. And we see that investors are more interested in the country as a result of that.
The ambassador expressed respect for the sacrifices Ethiopia continues to make in contributing to regional security, stating that Ethiopia's engagement demonstrates both its regional stature and its commitment to collective stability.
And I want to pay tribute to the Ethiopian contribution to the AU mission in Somalia. We know that thousands of Ethiopians have served there. Too many of them have lost their lives, and it's cost the government both in lives and in money. So we really recognise that and pay tribute to that. It's a great example of how this country can be a force for peace and stability in its region.
According to the ambassador, although the region is complex, Ethiopia could play a pivotal role, and the UK is also ready to see all the peaceful initiatives across the region.
As you say, it's a complex region, and its potential is enormous. It's so strategically placed, but there's too much conflict and too much potential conflict. And the United Kingdom wants to see this region at peace with itself and flourishing. As you say, Ethiopia has an outsized, a very important role to play on those issues.
UK Ambassador to Ethiopia Darren Walsh has disclosed that the United Kingdom stands Ethiopia's strategic interest in securing maritime access. While acknowledging the nation's goals, the ambassador formally recommended the continued use of peaceful and diplomatic approach to achieve this objective. Ambassador Walsh emphasized that such a dialogue-based path is essential for maintaining stability across the Horn of Africa. He affirmed that the UK remains committed to supporting peaceful initiatives that harmonise Ethiopia's national interests with regional security.
I come from a country which has 51 major ports and more than 120 other ports, so I approach this issue with some humility. And the United Kingdom, of course, is a major seafaring, trading nation with deep roots in its seafaring and naval traditions. So we understand the desire to be connected to the world for trade. I can understand why a country of Ethiopia's size and growing economy would want to diversify its access to commercial ports.
The UK, it was further disclosed, is actively working to strengthen its engagement with African countries by expanding trade and investment partnerships, with Ethiopia positioned as a key partner in that effort.
That's all the news we have for this evening. Thank you once again for tuning in. Bye-bye and take care.